So I feel like I've lived in this dozer for the last, I don't know, I quit counting the days. I worked all last week, and then Saturday, then Sunday from about 7:30 till about 11 o'clock at night. And usually takes me 3 days to get one of these sections ready to, well, get them ready, soil, cement them, and grade them and everything, and be done with it. This one with these utilities has taken, let's see, I started on it on last Wednesday, and this is Tuesday, and I'll finish it up within an hour or so. But I was working at another job, getting a soil cemented pad done for a company by the column, but spit it out, Charlie. A company by the name of Pedowitz come in to place a large piece of equipment that weighed about 80,000 pounds, 70,000 pounds. And they were going to pick it up with a hard-tired forklift, which they did. Anyway, I put about 90 pounds a square yard on some gravel, did a 9-inch till, and anyway, it held them up no problem. But anyway, I'm trying to get this done. I got to go to the Walmart distribution center. I got to leave at 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm tired. I just can't keep up. But so I mentioned that one of my guys wasn't doing good. CC Thomas. So I've known CC about 22 years, and he's worked for me for about 7. He was a superintendent for a company by the name of Bollinger and Price, and I guess about 10 years ago he had a couple of strokes and had some brain surgery and stuff, and it was a little bit of a slow recovery. And I think by the time he got recovered, they didn't want him back, or I don't know, he didn't want to go back. They didn't treat him right while he was out, I don't know. So anyway, he had made, we were friends. I thought the world of him. He was smart and funny, and anyway, I thought the world of him, and I had a job and I needed some help grading for some curb. And so I asked him, I said, will you come and work for me for a couple of weeks and help me get this curb graded? Well, 3 weeks ago Saturday was 7 years later. I mean, not to the day, but I mean, that was the last day that he worked. He had another stroke Sunday and had a seizure, and his daughter called me, and they airlifted him from Dillon to Charleston, and they did surgery the next day. They put a coil in, stopped the brain bleed, and I talked to him the day after the surgery, and he slurred a little bit, but he sounded pretty good, and I had all ideas that he would make a full recovery and he would come back to work. If he didn't want to, that was fine, but I knew how he was. He liked to work. He was 70 years old, and he liked working for me and doing kind of, because I always let him do like he wanted to do, because he always knew more than I knew. You could give him a set of drawings and leave him alone and never go check on the job, and he would handle it from start to finish. Well, I talked to him the day after that, and again, he was doing better. He was one side of it, you know, he could move his right side, but his left side was normal. But you know, the damage was on the left side of his brain, so right side of his body. Anyway, so a day goes by, and his daughter calls me and said he's not doing good. He's running a fever, high fever. So they put him in one of those suits that pumps cold water through to try to get the fever down. Anyway, come to find out, when they did the surgery, he got an infection where they go through your artery to go up to put the coil in. And but I mean, you know, all surgery has risk. If he hadn't done the surgery, he wasn't going to make it. So I mean, it is what it is. Anyway, so he got worse, and they ended up having to put him on the ventilator, and I wanted to go see him Saturday. Saturday was probably the last day that he was, conscious and knew would be there. But of course I was too busy. Somebody always wants something and I got to get it done, or I'm going to get a note to cure, or the world's going to come to an end, or whatever. Anyhow, so I stayed and I got what they needed done. Well, Sunday he took a turn for the worst. Monday morning his daughter called me, and he wasn't doing good at all. She called me 4:30 yesterday afternoon, and he had passed away about 4 o'clock. So people that work for me, or with me, for me, work with me, really. I never make anybody feel like they work for me. We're all a family and we're all friends. And I had lots of stuff to do, but we knocked off at 5 o'clock yesterday because I just had to digest what I'd just been told. And anyway, I spent last evening and a lot of today. It's funny how your brain works and the things you think about. I thought a lot about the jobs we'd done and the jokes he'd told and the stories he'd told, and and CC was like any construction worker. He was truthful, but sometimes he was a little careless with that truth when you were telling stories if it made them more interesting. I think most of us can be a little guilty of that. I mean, you might ad-lib a little bit. The truth is in there, but you make it a little more interesting. And I don't know that for a fact. I just feel like that was the case. But anyway, it's a debt we're all going to pay one day. And all he ever did his whole life was work. He worked right up to the day before he had the stroke, and I kept an eye on him. I watched him when he carried his one arm. I'd make sure he was all right because I knew he was tired or whatever. But the last 2 weeks before he had this last stroke, I mean, he was on his game. I mean, he just was. I mean, this really kind of surprised me. Anyway, that's just what happens as you get older. Friends and people that you work with and people that they leave us behind. But anyway, I just wanted to say a little bit about that. And I also was going to say, while we're doing this video, we're going to talk about people talking about back blading. So people that talk junk about back blading, they don't fine grade with the dozers, all I can tell them. Small areas I always fine grade with a dozer. This TopCon system that I have, it grades this exact same elevation back blading as it does going forwards. I've shot the sensors and the antenna. I've got an antenna that you take it off, and I got a prism that's exactly the same height to the center of the prism as an antenna, GPS antenna. And I'll set this dozer up on a flat surface and take the total station, and I'll shoot right side of the blade, left side of the blade, the center, that prism, and I'll measure exactly in the settings how far it is apart, and I'll set it like within the hundredth. You go in here and you go into control, machine setup, edit, tells it what it is. I mean, right down to the hundredth of what it is. I mean, I'm very, very particular about it. Put a smart level on the blade once a week. Calibrate that. Put a smart level on the tracks, or pull up on something that's totally flat. Calibrate that. And these machines will grade within 1/4 of an inch if you set them up right and you take your time. Straight. This is what they call millimeter GPS. This uses GPS for orientation, and elevation is figured off a laser spectrum setup. And I also grade with a robotic total station with this machine, laser, any kind of fine grading you can think of. But Anyway, so I always chuckle a little bit when guys talk about that you don't backblade with a dozer. Yeah, if you're roughing something in and getting it within a tenth, there's no need to backblade. I mean, I agree with that, but if you're trying to fine grade something for concrete or asphalt, I mean, you can't have cleat marks in it, you know? So you backblade it to get a nice finish. But my soil cement's a little moist tonight, so I'm gonna have to go over it a couple times. Anyway, I guess it gives me a lot of time to sit here and think about things, I reckon. Not too much though, because I gotta go home and get up in the morning and go to the Walmart DC and do some more treatment there for Morgan Corp. Oh, I can say it if I'm not on the job. How about that? That's exciting. As long as I don't say it in the video. Except for one, I'm not gonna say it. There's one of them that I ain't gonna say at all. I don't care on the job or off the job. I done got my butt chewed for that. Plus I had to sign non-disclosures. So I'll never say their name. And I got $1 million worth of paving to do for them right now, so I'm not gonna jeopardize that. But anyway, so I'm gonna finish up my fine grading, and that's tonight's video. Probably kind of boring, I reckon. I don't know.